Are you ready?
Starting now?
Oh, now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. When we started, we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, man. You know, shoot our wad into the wind and see what happens. What's the title of this podcast again?
I don't know. I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
You know, but
You're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
La, 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 la.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And we actually have a friend on tonight.
We do.
Yeah, you know what, Heidi? I think I referred to you. Didn't I refer to her as a bestie the other week?
I don't know what the hell you did.
look at her. I thought she was going to laugh, and she's like, "Aw." But anyhow, so yes, we have Heidi on, one of our good friends from Cleveland. But introduce yourself real quick, Heidi, and then we'll get on with what we're doing here. Okay?
Yeah, I'm Heidi. I'm from Cleveland. Well, I'm actually not from Cleveland. I'm from Northwest Ohio, but I've been in Cleveland for, oh my gosh, 16 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Where I met you two, my besties.
Yeah, sorry for all that, but yeah, you're kind of stuck with us, sort of, but no. So I mean, it's I think we had I don't remember when the first time it was even that we had mentioned having you on, but yeah, I mean, we've known Heidi for a long time. Mike, you've known Heidi longer than me. I mean, I've known of you for years, but I don't think I don't even know if I'm cool enough yet for you, but you actually started talking to me, I think, a handful of years ago or something like that.
Stop
it. But yeah, I mean, obviously we're glad to have you on. We're interested in hearing your story. We talk about you a lot because of the saying, which I'm sure we'll get to with the, I won't say it now. I'll let you say it with the strawberries and whatever. I won't ruin it for everyone.
Oh,
but
yes.
we have a mild format, right, Mike? Do you want to give her like the little update on our I can't talk. Minor.
I'll take over now.
Yeah,
Bill's stroking out.
Jesus.
Right. Well, basically, you know, we definitely don't want a drunk log. I know you're not going to tell one. We do want to know your story and all that good stuff. But yeah, we don't care. We know how to get fucked up. We know how to fuck up our lives and fuck up the lives of everybody around us. We want to know about the solution. So, you know, give a little background, low qualification, all that good stuff. But yeah. And I don't expect a drunk log out of you anyway. So There you go.
Right. Yeah, you know the deal. So yeah, it's your turn. Tell us about yourself.
So, well, I'm 18 years sober, and that probably surprises me more than a lot of people. And like I said, I'm from Northwest Ohio. I'm from Tiffin. You know, I started with a drink and ended with anything that I could get my hands on. You know, I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and I still, 18 years later, I get so emotional just thinking about my life today compared to 18 years ago and how my life is the way it is today, you know, just for a long time, for 20 some years, I just ran over top of everybody and put anything in me to not feel anything and to escape reality of any kind. You know, and one day I just actually, and I know you guys have heard me say this before. Well, I know you have, Mike. I got sober because I followed a guy into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And shortly after that, he disappeared, and I I ended up going to a meeting where there's a in Tiffin where I'm from. There's a oh crap, it's the CBCF. That's what it is. It's a men's facility, and I ended up going to a meeting where those guys would go on Friday nights. And that really, honestly, kept kept me coming back. Part of my sickness kept me coming back to the meetings. Thank God. And I really, I mean, honestly, you know, the powers that be knew how to get me in there. Is the only way that I have to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
But before I got sober, I went to jail. I did all that fun stuff. I never went to detox. Never went to any kind of treatment because where I was from, Tiffin's a small town. We didn't have those things around there, and I knew about them. I was a nurse. I was a nurse when I got sober. But I drank myself into a state of psychosis, and
Mm-hmm.
I was crazy. I tried things. I tried not to do the drugs. I tried to just drink. I tried to just do the drugs and not to drink. Like I thought there had to be a magic way. There had to be
Right.
the concoction. Like I couldn't imagine not using anything. I couldn't imagine
Mhm.
like I mean, I remember sitting in one of my first couple meetings thinking, fuck, what am I going to do? Like, what if I get married? What if my daughter gets married? What about when she graduates from high school? Like, what about when somebody dies? What about when somebody's born? Funerals. That's all I could think of was how am I going to, like, what am I going to do if I can't do that? 'Cause
Right. How could I be a part of anything without getting fucked up?
yeah, I
Right.
mean,
Right.
that was like what I did. And, I remember even being an IOP, and I remember my counselor, oh, I loved that guy, talking about triggers. And I remember sitting there and I told him, I said it out loud, like opening my eyes was a trigger. I didn't need to be in a certain area around a certain person. Just breathing was a trigger
Hmm.
for me. And I thought, I always talk about how when I got pregnant, I found out I was pregnant when I was 21, and I thought that was going to fix me. I thought that was the answer. People have kids, they got to be responsible. You got to
Hmm.
take care of the baby. Baby's first, priorities, family. And wrong. And that's something that I really, I work with a lot of women that are pregnant trying to get sober, and it doesn't work, man. It doesn't work. I couldn't get sober for anybody except for myself. And
Right.
I had that little girl, and I drug her through all that shit with me. I drug her through for 11 years. I drug her with me, and I'm still suffering some of the consequences of that. But
Hmm.
Sure.
but I mean, it just everything was darkness, and I used to write a lot. I used to write a lot of poetry. I have boxes full of poetry in the basement from when I was drinking and using, and it was all just so dark, and I would refer to myself always as just an empty piece of flesh. Is how I refer to myself in a lot of the writings, and that's just what I felt like. Everything was dark and empty and heavy, and it was hell. Man, it
Hmm.
was hell. And I think like today, I think back, and I don't know how I did it, man. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I went that long. Like I'm amazed. I'm amazed and survived.
Right.
That survived. I can't tell you how many cars I wrecked, and I got out of so much shit. Oh my God. I I would sideswipe cars every other night, and I never got caught. I mean, I got caught doing a lot of things, but the shit I didn't get caught doing, man,
Right. I
that
mean, you know, for some reason I never got a DUI. I have no idea how, but I never did. Yeah.
yeah, I only got one.
Right.
Yeah.
Only, but
Right.
I got one. And
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
just,
same thing with me. I only got caught once. Only got caught once, but man, you think back. I mean, all the time. So the other thing too, when we first got into the Keating Center, I remember. Not for the life of me, I just had his name and I can't remember. One of the dude that drove the Prius, Mike, the black Prius, Jeff, is that his name? That did group with
Don't.
us.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, the older
okay.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real nice guy, and we were in group one time, and he said, he was going around the room asking people questions, and he looks at me and he goes, "How many hit skips have you had?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what that is." And he goes, "A hit skip," and he keeps saying it. In my head, I'm like, "You can keep repeating the words. I'm not going to understand it anymore." And then he explained it to me, like you said, sideswiping a car and going away. I'm like,
yeah,
to the best of my knowledge, none. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't think my dad when he was still drinking, he used to always call them whiskey dents. He would get up in the morning and he would look for whiskey dents on the car. I don't think I ever hit anyone. I hit a post. That's when I got my DUI. But yeah, I mean, it's everyone was like, "You've never had that?" I'm like, "Fuck again. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think so. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think so. To
Right.
my cognizant self, I don't think so."
isn't that something too? To think about all the shit that we don't even remember or
Hmm.
that still hasn't come to consciousness for us.
Right. And probably never will. Right. I
Right.
mean, there's plenty of times, I'd look out the window, see if the car was in the driveway. Oh, yeah, there it is. I guess I drove it home.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I lost my car. I was living with my grandma, and God, I think it was the 4th of July, so it was the 5th of July. I made it back to her house somehow. I don't know, and I got up, I was showered, I was getting ready to go out and do it again, and
Hmm.
I went out to the car wasn't there, and I stood in the driveway, and my grandma was in the house, and I didn't. It was I didn't know if I should ask her, like, did she come and get me? It was like I didn't know. I didn't know. I just
Did you
didn't
ever
know.
find it?
I did. I did find it. It was at a man's house, Mike.
Ah.
It was at a
Well,
man's
there you
house,
go.
right?
So
Yeah.
so you sort of remembered sort of how to knew where to look, sort of thing.
Um. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. I had Graham's drop me off down at the M&R, and when I went in there was a couple of acquaintances that kind of refreshed my memory a little bit. So, yeah, I never would have done it on my own. I don't think. I don't think I would have figured it out on my own. Like,
Right.
and
Well, that's the
go ahead,
scary
Bill.
part too. I mean, with the blackouts and stuff like that. And I mean, the first Mike and I talked about it on here, but the first time that I know for a fact that I blacked out, I was the one year I went to school. I was like 17 years old, and I blacked out plenty of times. So it's crazy. Again, like you said, standing in the driveway, not wanting to ask your grandma if what happened to the car. It's like when I was married or you're hanging out with somebody or whatever. I mean, if there's blank spots, you don't want to walk up and ask somebody and be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, where's my fucking car?"
Yeah,
It's scary, too scary.
it's well, and I'll tell you something a little bit scarier than that was when I started to come to and I didn't know where my daughter was. That was
Mhm.
I did that on more than a handful of occasions, and it was the same way though. I'd get up and I had like a routine. I'd search the house first, and there were a couple times I'd go out to the yard, and the last resort, I'd kind of just sit there and wait, like to see if somebody would bring her back. I'd call her dad, and my mom was the last. Oh God, she was the last call I'd make, but I had to sometimes. I mean, I had to. That, and that was, and I remember that feeling like like it was yesterday. That's horrible. It's a horrible
Mhm.
feeling,
Yeah. Yeah, but we can't forget what we were.
right? Right.
So that's a good question, I guess, because Mike and I have talked about that. So, what's your opinion on that? If you're talking to people who are newly sober that, um, I don't know, that literally want to shut out the past and don't want to even look back at anything like that. What's your thought on that? Looking back on those things, good, bad, or indifferent?
I mean, I think it's I personally I think it's kind of dangerous. I don't ever want to forget that stuff. I mean, of course I'd love to forget it, but I mean, honestly, just for myself, and I know some people probably think it's a little dramatic. I don't know, but I mean, after 18, I don't ever want to forget
Right.
that shit. I don't want to forget how horrible, how scared. I don't want to forget that ever
Hmm.
because I mean, I don't know what
Yeah.
would happen if
Right.
I kind of block that shit out. And I know they say we do not regret the past, nor wish do I shut, nor do I wish
Right.
to shut the door on it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Right.
and Mike, you've probably heard me say this. There are times when I regret what I put my daughter through,
Sure.
but I do not want to forget about it.
Right.
I do not want to
Exactly.
forget
But we
about it.
also don't want to dwell on it either. Just sit
No,
there and focus on it because that's not healthy either.
no,
Right. Yeah, we got to remember what we're fucking capable of, but we also have to remember that we don't do that shit today,
right.
and that's what's important. But yes, we can't forget it because we have to remember that it's, one drink, one toke, one shot away from being right there again.
Man.
Yeah. And I think if I don't know, for me, I think if I forget or if I choose not to think about that at all, and to Mike's point, not dwelling on it, but if I don't ever want to look at that and think, God damn, like everything that we've been just talking about, sooner or later, if I push it away, it's going to seem like it's not that big of a deal, and then maybe it seems like a good idea again.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, well, maybe the stove wasn't that hot. Let's try to touch it again.
Yeah. And that scares me. That
Oh, I
scares me
know.
to think that,
It's terrifying.
that scares the shit out of me to think what would happen.
Yeah, but that's the healthy fear.
Right.
That's the fear that keeps us from doing it again, from taking that selfishness back and realizing that we can't be that fucking person anymore because it's fucking horrible, man. And it's a little selfish too. For me, I mean, I don't want to feel, like you said, that darkness and that loneliness and that fear and that horrible life that we were living. I don't want to feel that way anymore. I like feeling like this much, much better.
Yeah. Amen.
Right.
Man.
So you follow the guy into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? It was an AA meeting, right?
It was. We
Okay.
actually we were going to NA and AA at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so he, and his name's Tim. I always mention his name. He knows that I talk about him. But he was Tim was doing things differently than I was. He was an IV user. I wasn't. And he was on probation. I wasn't. I was concerned for him, so I called his probation officer. He ended up going to treatment, and he stayed for like 21 days. I picked him up. I was still doing everything I was doing every day,
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to go to meetings, so I started to take him to some meetings, and I'm using on the way there. I'm using in the bathroom there.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple weeks into that, he disappeared, and like I said, I just kept going back. I didn't know what else to do, and January of 2005, January 17th of 2005 was the first day that I thought I'm gonna try not to use. I was hearing some of the stuff these people were saying in these meetings. Some of it seemed a little bit overboard, but like this whole sponsor shit. I'm an adult.
Right.
I don't even. But So and I didn't. January 17th, I didn't drink. I didn't get high. I felt like shit for God several days. I mean, I didn't sleep. I was a wreck. Um, and I just kept going to the damn meetings. And I kept going to the bar too. I would have coffee and lunch at the bar, and everybody
Mm,
could see how good I was, and I was getting
sure.
better. And the middle of June of 2005, after I had my coffee and lunch, I left like I did every Friday. We'd go in for steak dinner, and I ended up going back that night, and I ordered a beer, and Renee was working. She bartended with me, so she saw she saw many times what happens when I take a drink, and
Hmm.
she didn't want to give it to me, but she knew I was just going to go around the corner and get it if she didn't hand it to me. So, I took a drink, and in less than 24 hours, I was back at the dope boy's house and doing all the things I did before.
Right.
And the last night, July 22nd of 2005, I was at this guy's house, and I had been there for over 24 hours. I know that much. And there was a lot of alcohol, and there was a lot of drugs up there. And at one point, I went into the bathroom. And when I came out, I looked in the mirror like I always do. I'm sure you guys too. You go to the bathroom before you exit. You have a little gander in the mirror,
Hmm.
and I kind of got stuck there. And then I felt, I always say busted and disgusted. Is how when I looked in the mirror, I saw me again. I saw
Hmm.
that disgusting, empty, dark Heidi. And I don't know how long I stood there, and I don't remember any other thought that went through my head other than I just remember feeling just disgusted and broke. And when I came out of the bathroom, the place was set up so that I come out of the bathroom, my purse just happened to be on the back of the couch, which I walk right by to go to the down the steps to exit this place, and that's just what I did. I grabbed my purse, I went down those steps, I exited, and the guy's like, "What are you doing? You got all this stuff here." And
Hmm.
I couldn't answer. I couldn't respond. I drove down, I got a pack of cigarettes, I went home, and I called a girl. I called Rhonda. She was a girl I knew that was sober at the time. And she came over, and it was a hot summer day, and I was I'm sitting in the living room, and it was daytime. It was like afternoon time, like late morning, afternoon. And I was
Hmm.
sitting there chugging my last few Miller Lights, and she comes barreling in after I called her, and she's like, "What are you doing? Let's dump them out." I remember looking at her, and I'm like, "What are you like?" I'm, I'm having a rough time right now. There's only a couple left. Like,
Right.
Jesus. And I dumped them out, and she took me to a meeting that night. We went to a meeting in Fremont, and I hadn't slept for days. I had been just going nonstop for days, and that nasty taste in your mouth, that nasty
Hmm.
feeling, that
Hmm.
shaky, jittery, don't want anybody to look at me.
Right.
So we were at this meeting, and after the meeting, this little lady approached me. She was old. I swear this woman was like 150 years old. I'm not kidding. She was so short. She was so short. She had reddish hair. And I to this day, I don't even know if she ever told me her name. But she touched me. She put her arms around me, and she touched me. And I don't know that I ever felt such a calm, like something just like it was like something just happened to me.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I don't know what it was. It was like it was like when she wrapped her arms around me, all that nastiness went away for that moment, and I
Hmm.
felt like things could be okay.
Right.
Um, So, and then, I kept going then I started teetering in AA a little bit more because now I'm like, okay, all right. I could clearly see that I take a drink and then I do other shit, like, and even before this, I have the track record. I don't even need to do other shit after I take a drink, and I still always end up in a jackpot, you
Hmm.
know. But I just after that, I got a sponsor against my better judgment, and a woman even, and she started working steps with me, and shit started to feel better. Shit started to look better. I was going to meetings every day, you know. I'm praying every day. I'm doing what they're telling me to do every day, and probably about 3-4 months in, I started to get that restless, irritable, and discontent.
Hmm.
And I remember calling my friend Danelle, and she was begging me to call her sponsor, who was this woman in Coshocton, Ohio. And it was that, the big book talks about the jumping off point, and I
Right.
Right.
feel I feel like that's where I was at that time. Like I was scared to take a drink. I was scared because I know what happens now.
Right.
But I was also scared to keep on feeling the way that I was feeling while I was not drinking.
Right.
Um, and I ended up, I felt enough pain. I called that woman in Coshocton, and she would become my second sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous. And that was Chrissy. And, Chrissy took me through the big book. We started at the title page. We went word for word, line by line, chapter by chapter. When the book said to take a step, I took a step. She
Hmm.
would ask me what things meant. And if I didn't know, she'd make me look it up and tell her.
Hmm.
She spoon fed me the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And from that moment to this moment, I mean, I love my life. I love
Hmm.
my
Right.
life. And I fell in love with Alcoholics Anonymous during that time. Madly in love in that book and those steps. And like, I couldn't get enough of it. I could not get enough of it. And to this day, I was talking to Dolly yesterday, and we're going, and she gets mad passionate about that book. And
Hmm.
you guys know that.
Yes, we
Um,
do.
but I love that. I mean, that gives me that giddy, like, I'm so grateful. I mean,
Hmm.
I just cannot fucking imagine if it wasn't, if it never came to be, where the fuck
Right.
would we be?
Right.
Dead.
I mean, oh my God,
Right. I mean, I'm
where would it
thoroughly convinced
be?
of that. Right. Right. Either dead or so fucking completely miserable that,
Right.
yeah, right. Because, this is a way out. This is a way. Because, like you said, we couldn't imagine doing anything without getting some kind of buzz on.
Man.
It wasn't possible, and now because we've done this work and been a part of this thing, hell, I can't imagine, I mean, it crosses my mind occasionally. We've talked about it plenty of times on here. Of course we think about it. We'd be fucking lying if we said we
Right.
didn't. We spent our entire lives focused on it.
Yep.
Yeah, 13 or 18 or 40 fucking years later, you're still going to think about it because it is such a
Absolutely.
huge part. It's part of our DNA. But I can't. But when I do have those thoughts, I play that tape through. That's a tool I have that, I play. Okay, fine, asshole, pick up a drink, go get
Right.
fucking smoke a joint. Then what? Then what? You're gonna,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be able to stop because you have no fucking power. You've lost the power of choice once you put that shit in you, whatever it is, and then you fucking can't stop, and then the misery comes
Mm.
instantly. you know, yeah, you're gonna feel good for a fucking second, and then it's just gonna be shit. And I know that, and I'm not gonna be able to stop.
Right.
No matter how bad it feels and how much shit it brings into my life, I'm not gonna be able to stop.
Mm.
I'm gonna do these little things to keep me from picking that first one up. That's what I'm gonna do today.
Right. It's a hell of a
Well, and
lot
we had
easier.
Mike and I had a sponsor together in Cleveland, Joe, and you probably know Joe, but he had said to us one time, or said in general to people that, when you first get sober, it's all about, people, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do? And he said the beautiful part is sooner or later you get to the point, or what are you willing to give up? You know,
Mm.
and it's like when you think about it that way, it's like nothing. I don't want to give up anything for
Mm-hmm.
booze. And it's not just and Mike and I talk about this. It's not the money, it's not cars, it's not any of that shit. It's the people and the feeling and the peace and the serenity and like being able to go some places. And we talked about, I remember you saying one time, I don't know if it was on Facebook or we were at some place to hanging out together, and you were talking about the moon, and you're like, that fucking moon. and you know what, I think about that all the time. I just walked outside before we were going to record, and it was just starting to get dark, and it's just like this little crescent moon. I looked up, and in my head I'm like, God damn, and then you look at a couple of leaves falling down, or you look at the sunset, or I took a trip and I was driving along, and I'm there's like these rock formations cut through the highway, and I'm just driving going, this is fucking
It's
beautiful.
amazing.
And what I used to do? I used to get in my car, and I have a pint of something, and I'd mix it with soda in my coffee cup, and I'd drink the entire way. And by the time I got to where I was going, I'm hoarse from singing because I have a few drinks in the car and you start singing, and I'm buzzed, and I'm thinking that was a lot of fucking fun, and I didn't see a goddamn thing. I drove for
Right.
8 fucking hours and didn't see a goddamn thing, and I drove drunk. you know, but shit. So going everywhere and doing everything, having some sort of substance in us now to again, that fucking moon, or look at that leaf fall. It's just it's wonderful. It's great.
I love that fucking moon.
I know, and you did. That's
I
exactly what you
love
said.
it.
You like that
The
fucking
sky.
moon.
I take the kids out. We go out all the time. Wet, rain, snow, I don't care. Several nights through the week, we go outside and we just look at the sky. And Remini's new thing. Well, it's not new, but he's doing it now too. We go out at night and we put our feet to the earth. We're grounding, and it's like it kills me. He's like, "Oh, can we go out and ground tonight?" They're a trip, but yeah. And Mike, talking about you said how we always are going to think about it, and
Mm-hmm.
I tell people, if you're talking to someone and they say, "Oh, I don't ever think about drinking or using anymore," probably run the other way because they're a liar.
Thank
Um,
you.
like I think. I mean, in the summertime, when I see the neighbors, or
Mm-hmm.
we go to a fair or something, and I see people having a drink, if I
Right.
told you that I never thought for 1 second or one time on occasion that I wish that I could do that, I would be
Mm-hmm.
lying.
Of
Of
course.
course, I'm going to think that. The difference between thinking about it today and thinking about it 18 years ago is that I know the truth about myself now.
Right.
I know, just like you said, I know exactly what's going to happen. I don't even have to guess what's going to happen if I take a drink. I know
Right.
what's going to happen.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was times, and even recently, and it happened when I was on my trip, and I told Mike about it. When I got to this one place, I'm sitting outside on the balcony, and it's like I don't know, it felt like a little resort area, and this and that. Immediately thought about that it was a drinking atmosphere, or you sitting in a restaurant. I could walk through a grocery store aisle, and you see a bottle of booze or a certain type of beer, and you immediately taste it, which is weird. But once again, we talk about it all the time. You spend years and years and years of doing that, and it's ingrained in you. I mean, we're
Yeah.
fighting to stay away from it, not to we're not just sitting here like, oh yeah, we're just floating away from it.
Right.
Every day we got to do the goddamn work,
Right.
in order to stay away from it. So it only I don't know. It only makes sense. But yeah, Mike and I said the same thing. If people do that, I've heard so many people over the years, alcohol never crosses my mind.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. Well, good fucking deal for you, dude.
Right.
You lying fucking blowhard. And on top of that, quit telling this new person that, because you're gonna fucking freak them out because they just had the thought.
Right.
Right.
They're not
Right.
fucking weird. You are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Man.
just people put these false, I don't know, some of these in no offense. I mean, I know some of these people have they have the right intentions like
They
that,
mean
but
well, right.
yeah, but I just think there's too many people that have been sober, and we've known a lot of really good people that long-term recovery, and I mean 20, 30, 40 years, that I mean, we hung on every word that they said, but then again, there was other people that we knew that's like, oh, fuck me, you know? And I mean, the things that are coming out of their mouths are just, like you said, Heidi, you said the word dangerous, you know?
Huh?
It's dangerous
Yeah.
not to, not to accept all this shit that we did and think about it as long as we don't dwell. And it's dangerous to think that we're just, okay, we're all good. I got this thing. Not today.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right there in the fucking book, man. There is no cure.
Right.
All we get is that daily reprieve, but we've got to do the maintenance to get that reprieve.
Yeah.
There you go. I was waiting for the word maintenance. I knew you'd come. I knew you'd come.
Had to be in there, of course. It's my favorite fucking word in the book.
I know. Yeah, we've talked about that a bunch of times too. You hear people quote that line, we've got a daily reprieve based on our spiritual condition. And Mike and I would be in meetings going, you missed maintenance, damn it. The most important word. So yeah, Mike has recited that. That's probably the most recited thing from the big book that we've said on here, with the exception of the words selfish and self-centered. That gets brought up on here a lot, probably more than anything. But...
Well, I mean, yeah, that's that's my encapsulation of the whole fucking program.
Right.
There is no cure. We've got to do the maintenance. And the root of our troubles, alcohol is just a symptom, which means crack is just a symptom, which means heroin is just a symptom,
Right.
which means it's all a symptom. The root of our troubles is selfishness and self-centeredness. That's the fucking program.
Right. Yeah, and if anyone out there is looking up wants to find the Cliff's Notes of the big book, no, just get the Mike's Notes. That's what they are.
There you go.
Now you know the big book right there. You're good. But hey, on that note, what do you think there, Mike? Should we take a break?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, stay tuned for more of this wonderful talk right after these words from our sponsor.
Hey everyone, it's your friends at Sober Not Mature.
Hi there.
And yes, it's both of your friends this time. Hi Mike, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Bill?
I am doing well, but we do have a purpose. We actually usually talk about our one website, but we actually have two websites now. So two websites in one. All right, so everyone knows we still have the podcast website that is www.SoberNotMature.com. And we just launched the store website, so we also have that. Do you know what the website address is on that one, Mike?
Of course I don't.
It's pretty easy, Mike. It's www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. But from the podcast website, you can still hit the store link and get into the web store, or you can access it from our Instagram page through the highlights. We've been posting quite a bit about it, and we'll continue to do that. But do you know what's on the second website, Mike?
Well, there's a store. There are products that you can purchase for you and your loved ones.
Well, Mike, do we still have merchandise?
We have merchandise. Well, we got T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of crap.
And one of the coolest parts, we also do have all the recovery books from Hazelden, which is kind of a big deal.
That is a big deal.
At least for us. So all the books that we read, God Grant Me, 24 Hours, the Big Book, the 12 and 12, all of those books are available for sale on our website. And again, that store website is www.sober.
Trying to help, man.
I know you are. You're not helping though. Okay, now I got to say www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. .com. Visit that today, or visit the podcast website, which is, again, the podcast website. So
www.SoberNotMature.com.
Did you just say sober but not mature?
Yeah, sure. Write that down.
Yeah, like fucking mush mouth or something. All right, everyone. You've suffered enough with this, and we'll get back to what we were talking about previously. So visit the websites, though. All right, everyone. Welcome back. And I forgot what we were talking about.
I don't know, but you know what? I want Heidi to go into what life is like now.
Yeah, so that's good. Yeah,
Oh.
save me from trying to remember throw out some witty fucking line. Tell us
Right.
something fun, Heidi.
Well, it's not all strawberries and orgasms, I'll tell you
Thank
that.
you.
There we
There it
go.
is.
That's what we were looking at. Okay, let's pause on that real quick. So we brought that up. Mike is the one that brought that up. Shit, early
Right.
episodes, probably in the first 10, and then we talked about it and people have heard it. There's people all over the country that are saying that now. Like guests
Hmm.
we've had on, Dr. Sarah we had on. She
Right.
uses that on their her and her partner Finn use that on their YouTube videos. People
Hmm.
have stolen that all
I
over the
love it.
place. And the worst part about it, because when Mike and I were talking about it, I've never seen your lead. He heard that at a lead at the Keating Center, and
Yep.
we figured out it was on a Thursday night, and I must have been working at the one company where I worked late nights on Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah,
So
it was
I,
early on. I mean,
yeah,
it was like within the first 6 months or so of being sober. And yeah, I was at a meeting, and that meeting is quote unquote an open meeting, but I mean, it's a sausage fest,
Yeah, absolutely.
and and you were leading. And, and you were up there and you're telling your story and you're doing your thing and all that good stuff. And yeah, it was one of the greatest lines in my early recovery. And clearly it stuck with me all these years. You're up there going, you're telling your story and you said, yeah, life's pretty good now, but guess what? It's not all fucking strawberries and orgasms. It's
Right?
like, yes.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just so yeah. You figure, I mean, for 13 years now, we've been talking about that line. So thank you for actually saying it on here. So that was both of us were looking. We know we're going to hear it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Okay, love you guys. Bye.
Yeah, really. Hey, it's been great. It's been a good time. So yeah, but no,
Oh.
seriously. I mean, tell us a little bit more. I mean, we know what's going on in your life, but everyone else doesn't. So not all strawberries and orgasms, but you've got decent shit going on. I know that much.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
I mean, my journey through Alcoholics Anonymous, it has been just fucking spectacular. Like up until like 5 years ago, I went. I mean, I was all over the place.
Hmm.
I went to so many conferences and, um, book studies and workshops. And I mean, I just, man, I don't know, I love it. And I told you a little bit about my daughter. Well, it turns out that she's one of us.
Hmm.
She had her own, she's on her own journey. And 5 years ago, I got a phone call from her asking if I could take the kids. I have 2 grandchildren. She asked me if I could take them for a few days so she could go to detox. And I mean, of course, of course I would. And so, long story short, I ended up getting them, and I have custody of them. They've been with me for October 4th was our 5-year anniversary.
Wow.
Nice.
They were 1 and 2 when I got them, close to 2 and 3, but they were 1 and 2, and man, that fucking that that rocked my world. That was hard. That was
Mhm.
hard. That was that first year. I mean, not even just. I only had one child, so not even just like suddenly being responsible for these 2 tiny humans, um, but then also like I went through a lot of guilt and remorse. Some stuff was thrown in my face, and I had a lot of contact with Dolly through all this.
Mhm.
It was I was in kind of a pretty dark place for like the first year. I had to go to court. There's all kinds of shit. I had to say shit that I never wanted to say in front of my kid. Um, but nonetheless, it is what it is. And they live with me, and they have. I'll tell you what. I know, like these little jerks have taught me, they have taught me love, a love that I have never felt, understood, or thought possible. And, before when I would say that, and I guess I'm doing it now too, some people are probably thinking, like, what about your daughter? And I
Mm,
loved her. I loved her the best I could when I
right.
was doing what I was doing, but I mean, it's been a journey, but I'm like, I'm having the time of my fucking life right now. I really am. Like, they they have they're like healing me. They're healing
Mm-hmm.
shit in me that I guess that couldn't was I wasn't capable of being healed, parts of me, until they entered my life the way they did,
Right.
Um I get to I get to have a childhood with them, kind of. And I know that might sound kind of crazy, but I mean, taking them to all this, I'm going to tell you what, I took them, you guys might have seen it because I posted some things on Facebook, the Big Bounce America a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Yep.
Dude, I, in the middle of that fucking giant bounce house, we are just like, I bounce like, I don't know that I've ever done anything so fun in my life. And I'm not fucking kidding you. I recommended when they come back next year, you guys should go. But
Mm,
like, there was a moment and I stopped and I cried. I mean, and I couldn't stop crying. And I'm just like, and it was one, and I'm like, this. And the first, I always go back to fucking Alcoholics Anonymous, man.
mm-hmm.
And I'm bawling my eyes out. I mean, it was just like the shit that I get to do with them, the shit that I get to experience with them, the shit that I get to feel with them. And I mean, again, it's not all like it. There's some rough stuff, like second grade math homework. Oh my God. I don't know if I've ever been so suicidal in my life trying to get through that shit. That makes no sense. But it's like my life today is amazing. I believe that it's the way it's supposed to be, and I'm having fun. I'm having fun. My life is so full and I am so busy Monday through Saturday, like between me working, and then after school, we're off to either kung fu, ninja training, gymnastics, dance, or speech therapy. And then we get home, rush through homework, baths. I got to cook supper yet. I mean, my life is packed full, but it's such a good full. It's such a loving full. It is such a happy full. Like, I don't even have words. I really don't. I really don't. And I don't get to come out. I don't get to go out to the meetings like I did.
Right.
I miss that. That's another thing. That was Dolly and I's conversation. I think it was last week, and I'll cry talking about that because I miss. There's a lot that I miss about that. I miss my
Mm-hmm.
friends. That's what I miss. I miss
Right.
seeing my people.
Right.
Yes, I can get them on the phone, and once in a while I get to meet up with one of them, but it's not often, and that's okay because there will be a time again where I can run again, you know? But right
Right.
now, the powers that be got me doing something else. So, but I stay connected. Do not be mistaken. I
Mm-hmm.
I have my book on my stand every morning. My routine is, as far as prayer and meditation, I do more now in the last 5 years probably than I ever did before that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have to, and it's,
Right.
I mean, well, and the kids, like, I wake up, I go to bed stupid early. You guys are totally fucking with my bedtime tonight. I'm like, seriously, on Fridays we will stay up till like, 8:30, 9 o'clock. But through the
Mm-hmm.
week, we're in bed by like 7:30. But I'm up by 4 o'clock,
Right.
4:30, because I I have to have some quiet to myself. I
Right.
have to. And then they're up by 6, and Remington will always join me for breathing. And then we'll do chants like you know, like they do what I do. I think it's adorable, and I hope that it helps them,
Right.
down the line in their real life,
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
with your routine, because Mike and I talk about that quite a bit. What do you do? Because I mean, he and I, of course, think it's hugely important and huge proponents of a morning routine. So, even briefly, what do you do every day? Because you said it's more now, but what's your routine every day?
It is. I wake up, the first thing I do is pee.
Wait a second. Let me
Write it
pee.
down.
Write
Write it
that
down.
down. Uh-huh.
Two
Hey,
E's or
me
three?
too.
Two E's or three?
I I get my coffee, and the first thing I do recently, you guys might think this is nuts, but I do the breathing first thing, and then I'll pick something out to read, and then I sit Indian style on my floor as straight as I possibly can for 20 to 30 minutes, and I try to just only have like I try to envision my day in my head, how amazing it's going to be and how perfect it's going to be and how happy everyone's going to be. I really try to I guess manifesting. I'm
Right.
manifesting my days, and some people think that that's corny as shit, but I'm into it
Mm,
right now.
No.
Like
right.
I am totally into it. And and then like I said, then the kids will get up. I have to stretch now too. I'm getting older. So I do some stretches also.
Uh-huh.
But then, then the kids wake up, and Rem and I do the breathing. And at night we light incense, and we will either do some like sound bath, or we'll do chanting, or we'll do yoga at night. And I put on I'm totally into the sound baths. If you guys have not been to one, I highly recommend you go. Um, but I'll play like that kind of music for us at night, with the incense, and we're kind of like totally hippied out over here a little bit. But I'll tell you what, I feel good, and I
Right.
hope that they feel good,
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, I just have like I just have a stronger sense of I have the strongest sense of it is the way it's supposed to be than I've ever had before.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So let me get this straight. So you like doing all this stuff for yourself to make your life better, and then you pass it on to them to make their lives better. Where the hell did you ever learn that?
Right? Right? Oh my gosh. It's
Mm.
something else.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It's a,
and like you mentioned, going to bed early and getting up early, I don't look at it weird because literally, only thing I ever, if I'm someplace or have to be someplace or whatever it is, I'm like, okay, I know like tomorrow I'm heading out to Cleveland. Are you going to the Keating Center event, by the way? Bring the kids up by chance? No?
when is it?
Sunday,
Sunday.
clam bake.
Oh, no. No, we're going trick or treating at the IX Center.
Oh,
Nice.
They have
that's,
that.
that's, they'll have more fun than at a clam bake anyhow. So I give you
Aw.
that.
Yeah.
but, so I know what time I want to leave tomorrow. And I know I have to pack, but I also know how much time it takes me because when I get up, that is first thing I do, I turn my coffee on to get it brewing, then I pee, so pretty close in there. But then I grab coffee and I go sit down and I do my readings. And Mike does his a little bit different, his routine, but we both do the same type of things. I do my prayers and I do whatever, and that's every day. But
Mm-hmm.
I plan my day around that. I know how long it takes me to take a shower. If I got to pack up, I know roughly how long it takes that. I just back up my day, and
Yeah.
if I have to leave at 6 in the morning, I could back up my day 2 to 3 hours, depending on what I have to do. And, when somebody's like, why the fuck do you get up that early? In my head, I'm like, why do you fucking care?
Right?
You know, but I'm just like, yeah, because I get shit to do, man. Our family knows we do it. Our friends all know we do it.
Right.
Anyone that I care about in my life is never going to question what I do. They may look
Right.
at me and like, fuck, dude, you got to get up that early. More power to you.
Mm-hmm.
But neither one of us, and we've talked about it endlessly on here, neither one of us would ever skip our daily routine, would never think of it. Mike, I think you even said, fuck it, I'll be late to work if I have to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
If I have to. Right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, for some god awful reason, it hasn't happened yet, but I oversleep somehow or whatever. I'm still taking that 20 to 30 minutes in the morning and doing what I got to do. I don't fucking care.
Right.
Because I
Yeah.
know I'm not going to have the job. I'm not going to get through my day. It's going to be miserable. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Like I said, I prefer this more. I will do the maintenance before I do anything else because I want the fucking result.
Right. I'm with you
Yeah.
on that.
Personally, I would rather get up before everyone anyhow, or if we're in holidays and stuff like that, or any
Mm-hmm.
place we are, if there's a house full of people, I do prayers. I'm not embarrassed of them, but they're mine. I'll take an extra few minutes and I'll do my prayers in the bathroom.
Right.
On my own. I brush my teeth and put my contacts in and do my prayers. I could do my reading anywhere, but
Right.
my prayers are my time, kind of like what you were talking about, Heidi. That time you just sit, what, Indian style, which I could never do. If you
Yeah.
held a gun to my head, I couldn't sit Indian style these days. But I mean, it sounds like that's your time, right? I mean, that's the time
Yeah.
that you take for yourself. Then your kids get up and Remy gets involved and whatever the deal is. But
Yeah.
you take it's your time, and that's important. And I think it's important for all of us to be selfish with that because Mike, you just said that, right? It's the maintenance. We have to.
Yeah. Right. Again, and it comes down, yes, it doesn't, I'm not a miserable son of a bitch as much.
Thank you
For
for saying
other
it. I was
for
gonna
other
jump in
people around me, right? So that's but that's a byproduct. It's selfish, man. I want to get my shit straight, and I want to be centered so I can get through my day without being miserable.
Yeah.
And
Feel good about
and
it.
if I'm miserable, I'm going to make everybody else miserable because that's what I do. I
Right.
know that about myself. I've done that work, and I proved it to myself over and over again. It's none of us ever. I mean, I'm a loner. I'm a rebel dotty. But I live by myself. I enjoy living by myself. I don't like being around a lot of people most of the time and whatever. But I don't even know where the fuck I was going with this.
No, you just let everyone know who you are. It's cool.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Right. But no, I do know where I was going. But we no matter how much of an isolator and a loner I am, we still want that connection with other people.
Oh,
We
yeah.
always do, and back when I was miserable and horrible and all of that, I wanted everybody around me to be as miserable as I was too, so I wouldn't feel so fucking alone.
Alone.
And I worked that out several years ago. But now I try to make myself kind of happy, kind of, so that the people around me are happy, and then I have happy people around me, and my life is better, and that's how all this shit works, I have that connection with people. It's kind of nice.
Right.
Yeah. And that's, you said, real quick, talking about, I got these kids. I can't fucking
Right.
be a grump, like I can't be tired. I gotta take care of myself. I have to,
Right.
because I can't, you know what I mean? Like, and part of my shit is I go to the gym 4 days a week too, like that, all that, and all the prayer and meditation, and I do this weird body movement shit. Like, that's all for my mental and emotional well-being,
Mm-hmm.
and so that they can reap the benefits of that.
Right.
Like I got to, for them, man. I have to.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, but we're taught that
Oh,
we have to take care of ourselves. We have to get our own shit straight so that we can be there for other people.
Oh,
but we talked about before, we were fucking monsters before. We didn't give a fuck. We're going to take care of ourselves in the wrong way and fuck everybody else. Yeah. And we lived that way for decades. So apparently something's changed in all of us.
Right.
Right.
Well, and you just said too, Heidi, about you can't be grumpy and stuff around them. I like that. And I guess I never thought about that because when it immediately flashed back to when I was still drinking and when it's probably in the last couple of years before I got sober. Whatever would happen, and I was kind of grumpy and shit around my son. And he was 7, 8, 9 years old at the time, and it doesn't mean that none of us are in bad moods ever. I mean, it still happens, but life still happens. It could still fucking suck and whatever's in our heads, but we can take a deep breath and we can be decent to people, or back to the whole 10 step. If we happen to snap at somebody, which does happen when we're wrong. I just figured that out. We talked about that a couple weeks ago when we were wrong. But I mean, if we happen to be grumpy or whatever it is, we can immediately say, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm tired, I didn't mean it, has nothing to do with you, whatever the case is. But we can acknowledge that, actually live up to it and explain our behavior rather than our kids just looking at us like, what the fuck's wrong with this person,
Right.
And that's what it is, because at that point you are just this person. You're not you're not their mother, you're not their father, you're not their grandparent, you're not anyone like that. You're just, who is this monster? Mike, I think you said monster a few minutes ago.
I believe I did.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I mean, it's so great not to have to live that way. And God, all the stuff you were saying, all this running around and stuff like that. My grandson is 19, almost 19 months old. He wears me the fuck out.
And he's so cute too.
Oh, he's adorable. I love him to death. And you know what? For whatever reason, he actually kind of digs me too. But it's one of the most, and like you said, it's a whole different love for a grandchild. And Mike, I mean, from you got sober when Lydia was so little, and you described that, the love in her eyes,
right?
And it's such this whole different thing. And I mean, granted, I'm 55 years old now, running around after this miniature, 2-foot lunatic. And, I love him, but I'm like, geez, dude, and he's got the same personality as my son did. So half the time I'm calling him Derek, or I think he's Derek. It's crazy. But you know what? It's the best. I'd rather be worn out for that than, some of this useless shit I used to do.
Yeah. And I've had to apologize to them before too. Let me be clear.
Well, yeah, of course.
And I don't like it. That's why I
well, yeah, right.
Off
to not have to, again, the selfish shit. Right. I don't want to have to fucking apologize. So I guess I'm going to try to do shit that I don't have to apologize. I'm going to do things so that I don't have to apologize. Right.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's like I always say, look, yes, I still have all kinds of fucked up thoughts, but thankfully my actions don't reflect those thoughts anymore. Right.
Man.
I mean, well, I've quoted it on here several times. I got it from Dolly. She said, we're no longer emotionally driven. We're spiritually driven, which is just a beautiful way of saying, fuck your feelings.
Right.
My feelings don't matter. Right. My actions matter. My thoughts don't matter. My actions matter. It's what I do. I could be inside going, fuck this, fuck this, fuck this, fuck this. But if outside, I'm doing something nice for someone else, then who cares what I'm thinking and feeling? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's one of the coolest things. That's what them women, at Dolly and Chrissy too, they tell me, we don't care how you feel, we care what you're doing. We care what you're doing.
Yeah, well, that was, early on in sobriety, we walk into Who Do You Know, all those guys down there, and they do it on purpose. They, I mean, we were literally maybe 30 days, and they go, so how you doing? And you start fucking running your mouth, and they let you go for about 10 seconds. And then they go, we don't care. What are you doing?
Yeah, and
Oh,
in your
fuck.
head, yeah, you're kind of like, fuck me, I'm not going to answer that question again.
Right.
You know, but it does. I mean, the little things like that, and we talk about this all the time. That and I've been to meetings in different areas. So has Mike, and there's nothing wrong with meetings in other areas. And recovery is what it is, and AA is what it is. But there is nothing like Cleveland AA, in
Yeah.
our opinion, and I think you probably agree. In these people that, I mean, we talk about it being hardcore and old school and all those sort of things, and it is, in the fact that people don't take shit and all that stuff, which they don't, but people are not mean. And I think
Mm-mm.
that sometimes people get the idea that the sit down and shut up and stuff like that mentality is mean, but it's not. It's just a matter of, okay, we know a little bit better than you, so just do and do what we say, and just chill,
Mm-hmm.
chill the fuck out. I never felt anyone was being rude to me. They were very straightforward. and
Mm-hmm.
and again, worst case scenario, something like that, you're like, well, I'm not going to answer that fucking question anymore. So what it did, I learned, the stove was hot, I didn't touch it again. And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, the hardcore stuff is, I don't know, the touchy feely shit. Mike, you went through that. I know. I don't think it
Mm-hmm.
would have worked on me either.
Oh, it did not. I went back out for 10 more years. And then I came to Cleveland and they said, sit down, shut up, watch what we do, and then you do that too. I went, oh,
Right.
really? That simple? Yeah, that fucking simple. Now shut up.
So
That's
Heidi,
funny.
did you feel comfortable in the rooms of AA and or NA right off the bat, or was it kind of, and I know the initial thing, a little bit as you had mentioned, but I mean, just in general, did you feel at home or feel comfortable, or did it take you a while to kind of where you felt a part of?
Um, I'll tell you, after after July 22nd of 2005, I felt more comfortable because, and I was convinced, before that, I took a break from all the meetings for those few weeks between June and July, and I would never, when I would go to AA, I was such a dick. I would, they'd ask me to read, and I would not say, I'm Heidi, I'm an alcoholic. I would say, I'm Heidi, and I refuse to use, or some stupid shit like that. What's some of the other dumb things I said? But after when I came back in July 23rd, like I was sold. It was hook, line, and sinker, and I did. I felt pretty comfortable.
Huh?
I really did, and it's. I got sober in Tiffin, and the meetings. I mean, a big meeting in Tiffin is like 10 fucking people,
Right.
Right.
So when I came to Cleveland, well, when I got Chrissy as a sponsor, she was in Coshocton, which was almost 3 hours away from Tiffin. So I would meet her at places, and she would, like I met her up here in Cleveland, I don't know how many times, and I met her in Columbus, I don't know how many times. So I started to branch out, and I didn't know AA existed anywhere else except for Tiffin, Ohio. and I mean, and then when I moved up to Cleveland, I think I had like 2 years sober when I moved here. And I just fell right into place. I didn't know. I mean, I knew a lot of people in Cleveland, but they were like Dolly, Chris Heidel. They were not like they weren't in Lakewood,
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to meetings where I didn't know anybody, and I wasn't scared. It was so refreshing. It was like, and I've said this a million times, you've probably heard me say it, I felt like a kid on a new playground,
Right.
like there are meetings everywhere. I mean, and I'd call up somebody and say, hey, let's go over to, Euclid to this meeting or something. They're like, why are you going all the way to the east side? I'm like, it's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Like, what the fuck do you mean? But yeah, I mean, I love the AA here, and I felt pretty comfortable. NA was I mean, I say I was comfortable in there, but that was between January of 05 and June of 05. So I wasn't really, and I wasn't like I wasn't sober. I
Right.
wasn't drinking. I wasn't using street drugs, but I was still getting a prescription of Xanax from my doctor because I had social anxiety, which is a bunch of bullshit. I was an
Right.
alcoholic. I
Right.
suffered from alcoholism is what my problem was. So, but I was as sober as I was capable of being, I guess, at that time.
Right.
But I just never fell into NA. Like, I feel like I just fell into AA, especially once I got Chrissy in my life,
Mhm.
like
Right.
that just,
I mean, the other programs are all fine, and they're all based on the 12 steps, which is AA. And my line for it is always, I like my recovery like I like my dope uncut. So I'm going to go to the source. I'm going to get it as clean as I can get it, which is AA.
Yeah, and one thing I learned, and I think I learned this before July 23rd, because I was going to so much NA and I was getting those books. NA was created out of resentment.
Right. Right.
Which is why I feel like I don't feel things in there,
Mhm.
When I come into AA, like I feel it. I
Yeah.
feel that in my fucking soul. And I just never felt it like that in NA.
Yeah. Exactly. It's CA and HA and blah, blah, blah. It's all whatever. But yeah, they're all splintered out. And again, the easier, softer way, man. They're trying to water it down. And I want it pure. I need it pure.
Right.
Yeah.
Me too.
Because I'm fucked up.
Right? God.
So I'm sure I'm not the only one that's never heard that. What do you mean NA was formed out of a resentment? I've never heard that before.
So Jim, damn it, I used to have all the facts. Okay, the guy's name, I think it was Jim. Was his name Jim or?
That sounds like, yeah. And I don't remember the details that much either, but I do know that, it was a guy that was in AA, and he,
Jim
right,
Larry.
and it was the old shit. Don't talk about drugs in Alcoholics Anonymous, and shut up, man. Read the fucking book. Bob did drugs. Bill did drugs. Silkworth talked about drugs. What was it? I think number 4 or number 5. I mean, one of the early ones was a heroin addict. And they had a big discussion about letting him in. They let him in, and he got sober, and there you go.
Right.
So but yes, NA was he was pissed off that he couldn't talk about drugs, so he went and formed his own little thing.
Yeah,
which is NA.
Jimmy
Yeah.
K.
No, seriously, I didn't know that. And
Really?
I had no idea. But I mean, I've been to AA meetings that probably should have been, identified as NA meetings, which is fine. I don't care one way or the other. Because I mean, all of our friends, have done drugs, and I have no issue with it whatsoever. I understand and I respect, a completely closed, old school meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, but I have no issue if somebody's talking about drugs. We've had guests on here before that, start to, kind of tiptoe around drugs, and we're like, you can talk about whatever the fuck you did. And they're like, really? So, and because a lot of people come into, even though we've never advertised ourselves as we talk about AA a lot, but we're certainly not an AA meeting, not AA sanctioned, and have no issue whatsoever talking about it. But I mean, again, I had no idea that. I guess it makes sense,
Right?
I mean, that for one of us to get pissed off about something and say, "Fine, I'm going to do it my way." Then over here,
right? Yeah, and I mean, get in where you fit in. If that's your thing, whatever, get better, however you got to do it. But AA is my way, and thank God.
Yeah. Right. I mean, we've said it on here plenty of times. We don't care what is making you a better person. If it's making you a better person, good. Keep doing it. Right. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, NA, whatever. Doesn't matter. If you're being better, good. And if you're not, it's not making you a better person, try to do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, if all else fails, do something different. But
Yep.
yeah, it was funny, Heidi, when you talked about the reason I asked about, and I've asked quite a few people that we've had on as guests if they felt
Hmm.
comfortable right away, especially the women, because we've heard stories back and forth that some women just, and I truly think that I don't want to say only, majority of people we've heard that were uncomfortable, women especially in AA, were outside of the Cleveland area. Although I think Megan said the first meeting she went to was more of a guy center
Hmm.
type of meeting,
Right.
but she immediately found women, and they kind of wrapped her up and took her in. So I mean
Right.
that's what Cleveland AA is about. But when you mention about being comfortable or finally being comfortable saying the word alcoholic, I didn't feel comfortable for months. I just said it um, because everyone else was, and
Right.
I knew we had to identify, and
Hmm.
like the first time I would have said it would have been, literally day one in the Keating Center. So I was 7 days sober at the time, I think, and we were in meditation because I think when we shared, we had to identify, right, Mike,
Hmm.
if I
Yeah.
remember,
Right.
and everyone else was doing it, and I'm just like, okay, my name is Bill, I'm an alcoholic. And that day, which would have been whatever day it was, again day 7 or something like that, was the first time that I ever said those words, and I sure as fuck didn't believe it, at that time. But I just kept saying it, and again went through the fucking motions, and
Yeah.
literally for 9 months. But that's a whole nother story that we talked about plenty of times. But I did not buy into this hook, line, and sinker right away. Let's just put it that way. But
Right.
yeah,
And
so I mean, I always
I've talked about, I called myself an alcoholic for years and years and years. I use it as an excuse. Yeah,
right.
I'm an alcoholic. What'd you expect me to fucking do? I got drunk. I got high. I'm a drunk. I'm a junkie. What the fuck?
Right.
Man, I was scared. I was scared to to say it because I knew, and the thing was, I knew that once I said it,
Hmm.
that then I was probably going to be sold to believe it.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I held on like a son of a bitch to that. Someday, some way, I will be able to control it.
Hmm.
Drink with impunity.
Right.
Man,
I think there's something about that in the big book too, isn't
right?
there?
Something about that. Right.
But so I mean, my dad was an alcoholic, so I knew what the word meant, and I mean, I didn't want, I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be labeled that. I guess at that time, I don't even know if labeling was that. I saw I was worried more about what my family and everything like that was going to think, and it was probably that, and we talked about it, that the shame and the guilt and all those different things of, again, finally putting again, I guess, putting a label on that sort of thing, but on top of that, I just didn't buy into it. I didn't want to get sober. I wasn't sold, as you had said, Heidi. But hey, sometimes they say you stick around long enough, man. Stay until the miracle happens, or whatever the fuck
Right?
what happens. It does. At least you got to do the work.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the whole key is doing the work.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. But, well, like Tony's story, he was going to fucking prove that all this shit didn't work. That was his thing, man. I'm fine. I'm going to come in. I'm going to work these steps as hard as I fucking can and prove to you assholes that it doesn't work. And then he fucking worked the steps as hard as he could, and he fucking stayed sober and went, oh
Isn't
shit,
that
it does
funny?
work. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Now he's got 10 plus years.
Yep.
But. And I didn't know that. I've known Tony for years, and
Hmm.
Mike told that story on here, probably a year or so ago, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And finally we had Tony on, and we're like, I told him, like, yeah, you got to tell us that, you got to tell everyone that story, because yeah, that's what it was. He was literally going to work this to the best of his ability to
My
prove they didn't
God.
work.
Tony and Angel Tony.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, I love them.
Hmm.
yeah, they're wonderful. But yeah, that's too bad. I mean, not that you're going trick or treating, but that you can't make it up there, because yeah, it's been, Mike and I were just talking before you got on. I mean, unless he and I are forgetting something, which is possible, because
Always.
we're old. But I don't think I've been back to Cleveland since Founders Day. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you promised to come down to Founders Day, and you didn't. Fuck.
Yeah, one of the kids was sick.
I'm kidding. No, I'm just
I don't
kidding.
remember which one. Clea's sick. Oh my God, the germs that these kids bring home from school. Fuck. Oh my God.
Well, you know what's funny when even back to when my daughter was little. I mean, she's almost 36 now. They got like chicken pox. I don't know. We got a note from daycare, or maybe she was in kindergarten or whatever it was, and like, oh, chicken pox. If you want to keep your children out, and we're like, fuck no, get her in there.
Sender.
Let her get it, and
Yeah.
these people are just like, why are you letting them get their immunity system up, man?
Yeah.
Because she was
Yep.
prone to ear infections. My son was prone to ear infections. I was when I was a kid. But yeah, I mean, when my son and my stepson were little, my God, it was like every month, for about the first 3 years with both of them, at least, ear infection, pink eye, something, and it would roll around the house. And it's funny though, because now I come, and I think Mike and I have talked about this. I don't know if I was actually sick with like a cold at that time, or just I was drinking pretty heavily at that time frame. So I mean, I might have just been, I don't know,
Hungover.
hungover, fucking worn out, whatever the deal was. But literally, I mean, yeah, colds would the germs. But you know what? They'll be better off for it. They got to get that immune system up.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, I think Remington was sick for the first 3 years that
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that I had him. I mean, he was sick all the fucking time. And he's got Remington's got attention deficit, and I'm bound and determined to, and I know there's lots of opinions on this, but I'm just bound and determined to not medicate him with
Right.
pharmaceutical meds. So I've done, oh fuck, I've read so much. I've listened to so many podcasts, so many doctors, and I got him on some natural things: saffron, omegas, methylated vitamins, and it like changed him. I mean, he's still very hyper, but it really helped with like his mood and whatnot. Anyways, what I'm getting at is, so now he's like really healthy, and Kalia's the one getting sick all the time now. So I'm gonna have to add some of those vitamins to her. And it isn't horrible, Bill. One of them gets sick, and they're sick for 2 weeks, and we never can get it all at the same time. It has
Right.
to, work its way down. So it screws my life for like 3 to 6 weeks at a time.
No, but I was just fucking with you. I think I remembered that you had something going on, because I think I had texted you to see if you guys were going to make it down, and I
Yeah.
remember that now, that I remember the kids were sick. But no, I was just fucking with you, because I know that you got a couple of things going on in your life. But it was funny you talk about the meds and stuff like that. So my son's mom had a son prior to our marriage, and him and my son are like 2 years apart. And when he was going to school and stuff like that, so obviously that's when we were still together, he was having some troubles in school. And I don't remember if they said it was like an ADD or an ADHD type of thing, but they were trying to move him into more of a special education type of thing. And she told me about this, and she's like, that her ex, and Mark was his name, or is his name. It's like, yeah, we got to go meet with the teacher or whatever. And I don't think, I'm like, being around this kid enough, I said, he learns differently. I said,
Yeah.
he's not an unintelligent child. He's visual, he's artistic, he's got that side of the brain. And I'm like, these teachers aren't understanding that. And thankfully they didn't move him out into that. They tried to work with him a little bit differently,
Yeah.
and got through it. But I was just looking at it because children can be cruel, and you think about that, and it doesn't matter. One kid's got to take medication, one kid's got this, one kid's over here, and all this stuff. And these teachers, I get it. It wasn't a school where it wasn't overcrowding. It wasn't this big problem like that. It was just this teacher, in my opinion, was fucking lazy, and had this, like you were talking about, second grade math. It's like they had these blinders on. This is how everything has to be, and everyone's got to
Right.
fit into it. Nobody can be individual cells anymore. At least it seems like it with these kids these days in school, right? I mean, I don't know if that's true,
Yeah,
but
absolutely true. Absolutely.
yeah, what the fuck is new math? My
Oh my God. Don't
now
get me
even again, my
started.
son just turned 23, so it's probably when he was again 7, 8, 9 years old. And I remember sitting down with him to do his math homework, and he's doing all this different shit. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" Because he was asking me for help, and he's like, "This is how we have to do it." And he's like, "Look, this is what she showed us." And I said, "I can tell you the answer right now is 17."
I know.
And I said, "I can show you how I got to that answer, but I said it's not what your teacher wants." So I said, you got to work through it the way that she is. But I'm telling you, the answer you're looking for, it's 17. He's like, how do you know that? I just did it in my head. I'm like, how do you do that? I'm like, because that's what we did.
Right?
And
Right.
I said, I can put it down on paper exactly what I did, but I said, you're not going to understand it because she's showing you over here. I swear to God, there was this YouTube video I saw, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And this teacher's on this blackboard doing this problem with new math. And I do this big fucking air quotes while I'm saying that. And they show, it's like this split video, right? So they're showing the lady doing this and she's going through, and the guy on the other side does like all three of us did when we were kids, and he figured out the answers again, let's say 17. So he does this in like a minute. And then he takes his camera's going over. He goes over to the coffee pot. He puts on a pot of coffee. He grabs the dog. He takes the dog out. He's throwing the ball with the dog. And they're still showing the lady doing this, over here on the other side. No shit. It's like 9 minutes later. He walks back in and sits down, and she's got the answer. He made coffee, took the dog out, played with the dog, poured a cup of coffee. She took 9 minutes to figure out this problem. I'm like, that's a fucking problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we're doomed.
That shit's
Yeah.
crazy. It is. And I told his teacher, I'm like, I can't, you teach that shit over there because I can't help him over here. Like Bill, I'm like, I'll give him the answer and then I'm trying to show him my way, but then I'm like,
Right.
oh, don't do that because I don't want you to get in trouble.
Mm.
But he had some shit a couple weeks ago, and I'm telling you what, like, they give you the problem and then it's the answer's there. You got to pick the right one. But the answer wasn't even the answer. It was like and it wasn't rounding off either. It was the closest to the answer, but not
Ugh.
the answer. Like I mean, I don't get it. And I don't know why.
Well, because
know.
they want to make sure that everybody gets close enough, and it's close enough, and it's good enough, and
Oh
no. There's an answer, and then there's a wrong answer.
Right?
Right. Yes, I know.
It's crazy.
And the education system wasn't all that great when we were in there.
Right.
I remember not thinking it was all that cool, going, wait, this is fucked up. And you people, the teachers, the heroes, these are people that fucking dropped out of society, stayed in school for their entire fucking life, never went out and made a life of their own so they could have their summers off. Fuck you.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a trip, but
Those that can't do, teach.
Right. Wow.
Gosh.
Thank you. How do I really feel?
Yeah, really. But, well, in considering that I've done a lot of training in my life, which is kind of teaching. So I mean, that one hit a little close to home.
I'm
there.
talking
That's okay.
in the educational system in our country. Yes, it's crap. But anyway,
I'm just kidding. But
hi to
yeah,
all the
that's
teachers out there. Hope you enjoy your summer.
right. But that was like that.
I'll be working.
That was like the second awe I got from Heidi in the episode. That's nice. That's nice. So, I guess what else? What else do you want to tell people about? What words of Heidi wisdom besides it's not all strawberries and orgasms you want to bestow on our fun and fine listeners?
God, I don't know. Just, I mean, and it's funny because as we've been talking, there's some things I'm like, oh, try to remember that, and they're fucking gone. But,
Of course.
Right.
but just, I mean, as far as like, sobriety or, getting sober, or trying to get better and have a real life, like, I mean, it takes work and,
Mm-hmm.
I work in the field and it's different. It's different now than it was 5 years ago. Like you got to be, we got to tiptoe around their fucking feelings and, you can't call people out in group anymore and be like, hey, you have a dirty urine. Like, let's talk about this, like now we got to be considerate and worry about their privacy. And I don't see a lot of people getting better that way.
Right.
I really don't.
Yeah. They're going to fucking die. There's a right answer and there's a wrong answer. Not the one closest to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I never, as far as Alcoholics Anonymous, and I mean, that's my, like, I bow down,
Yeah.
because I have an amazing fucking life today. It's not perfect and, shit happens. But I couldn't imagine it any other way. And I sure as fuck couldn't imagine taking a drink in the midst of what I got going on now,
Yeah.
Right.
or a hit
Yeah.
or whatever, anything.
Yeah. Right.
I'd say drink. I did it all.
Yep. Me
Um,
too. Bill's the weirdo here.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I never did drugs, but like we were just talking about this in I think with last week's episode, that for the longest time, I used to actually qualify what I didn't do by basically saying that I only drank, and finally I'm like, you know what? And that's what I said last week. I'm like, it took me longer to almost kill myself, but I did. I almost killed myself again, quote unquote, just drinking. So, very clear that if anyone wants to know or ask, I mean, I never did any drugs. Only reason I didn't is because I never got to them. It was a yet. I know I would have. I don't look at anyone who did drugs, as, oh, you filthy druggie, or anything like that,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't have any friends. I mean, literally,
Hi.
Right.
yeah, there's not, and I don't know anyone. I think there's been one other person that I've met along the way, and I don't think it was in Cleveland. There was only straight up booze. Well, maybe was no Pete. Pete was drugs. Jeff,
Yeah.
remember Jeff? Jeff with the kind of like it was Pete's buddy. Jeff, do you remember him?
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
might have been
I-
just a booze hound.
Yeah. I think so.
But I mean, very, very few, but again, it kind of is, it is what it is. And it doesn't really matter. What Mike and I always talk about is, completely, we look different. We sound different. We had way different paths, but literally ended up on the same fucking doorstep,
Yep.
Right.
and almost at the same age, we were only
Yeah.
2 years apart, in
Right.
age. So,
And the
So-
solution was the exact same for both
Same.
of us. Yep.
yeah,
All three of us.
And now we've been sober the exact amount of time, do the exact same things, and I mean, imagine that we, both
Get
of
the
us,
same results.
yeah, we've gotten the same
love it.
results. Isn't it great?
Love it.
It's kind of fucking wonderful, So, all right. Well, if you don't have anything else intelligent to say, Heidi, I guess we're done.
Wow.
I don't know.
God, Bill. What the fuck?
Yeah, he's still an asshole. We all are.
I was still a dick, but I could throw that out to people like you. See, that's the fun part. I mean, there's certain people I know. That's what I like when we have friends on here, because I could be an asshole and you're not going to get mad at me. You're just like, okay, there's that train. I knew it was coming at some point. No, but seriously, man, it was. This has been great, and I mean, it's funny because I've told Mike this a lot of times after people, once we're done with the episode and people sign off and stuff, that sometimes I look at the the clock and the timer on here, and we're 45 minutes in, and I'm like, fuck, I don't know how we got nothing else to talk about. And then we end up talking for another 45 minutes, and that's always the cool part about every single guest that we've ever had on. We've had a couple that are a little bit hard, to get talking, but it's usually that first half, right, Mike? Sometimes with people that goes a little bit slower, and then I think everyone loosens up, and it's usually after we take that break that people kind of loosen up. They're like, oh, and it's this whole different direction, and it's just fun, just a fucking conversation. So it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad. Thanks for asking me. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely.
This was so fun.
Heidi said she's starting her own podcast, so I'm not even going to ask. We better be on your fucking podcast. I'm telling you that much.
Look, you have so much you have to teach me, and I know I keep saying I'm going to call you, and I fucking am. Like, I'm calling because I have so many questions and so many. Like I told you, I got the stuff, and I have so many ideas. So.
Right. Well, that was the kind of the follow up that we better be on it, because I'm going to help you build it. So.
Oh yeah.
Since I'm going to help you with that, we're going to be fucking guests. This is not even a question.
We're going to be fucking guests. Yes.
In all seriousness, we started this on a whim. I know we think we both talked about that with you, and of course everyone else knows it. But we started on a whim, spent very little money to begin with. We've put a little bit of money into this, but not a lot. It's easy enough to get things going, and we've made all the mistakes, that I can help you avoid. So
That's awesome.
it's
That's
really
so
it's really
awesome.
not that hard. And the fun part is that we take pride in this. We did it right off the bat. We decided that we were never going to edit anything. Everything that's come out of our mouths since we hit record is going to be on the episode.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I ever do, I shave off the dead air in the front, the dead air in the back, and piece it together, and that's what we do.
That's
it. It takes a little bit more time than that. It's not that simple. But I mean, in a general sense, we talk to people and hear people all the time that spend fucking hours editing. Like there was a couple of times when we were talking through here that I would stop or Mike would stop and there'd be little pauses like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people who do, these podcasts, they would edit that. I'm like, fuck that. There's an uncomfortable pause throughout this. Who cares? It is what it is,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anytime you let me know, I'll run you through it. So, okay.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
You're
and
welcome.
we'll promote it too.
Aw.
We cross promote all the time, so absolutely.
Especially
Awesome.
especially
That's
if
awesome.
Well, yeah, especially somebody like you. We'd promote the fuck out of your podcast. By all means. But only thing I'm going to say is, and help was created by me.
Right.
Partially created by me. No, I'm just fucking with you. But no. But seriously, Heidi, thank you. Thank you very, very much for coming on. Obviously, we truly appreciate it. So, but now it's time for you and I to be quiet, and Mike gets to run us out of here. So go ahead, Mike.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. Thank you so much, Heidi, for coming on and being a part of this little thing with us. We totally appreciate it. As always, be kind to each other, be good to each other, do something nice for somebody else this week, and don't tell anybody about it. And now it is time. It is that time, kids, for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off till you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.
My favorite part of the episode. Always.
Me too, because it means we're done.
Right. But yeah, so remember, Heidi, when we say goodbye, do not disconnect, okay? I just want to remind you. But I think, yeah, we're all good. So Mike, I love you, brother. I will see you
love you too.
Also.
You will,
Heidi,
and we'll see all you fuckers at the clam bake on Sunday.
Drive safe.
Exactly.
Bill. Safe travels.
I will, absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to get together sometime. So
Yeah,
it was
if
wonderful.
there's any chance I can stop up there, I will.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll be around. It's from 2 to 6. All right?
All right.
All right.
Bye.
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 And now it is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off until you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.